I gotta have y'all comment on Robert Maxwell with the attorney with the Arizona GOP. Here's what's stunning, Joe. So now the new talking point is all the illegals are voting. They're voting. Dude, multiple states, all 50, reported there was no widespread voter fraud. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, one of our partners here, Trans Real Estate. If you're looking for a hot new investment opportunity, I have two things I want you to think about: legal marijuana and crowdfunding. Now, you just let that sink into your head for a second. Our friends at Transatlantic Real Estate have created a unique opportunity for everyday investors like you to get in the game for a minimum of $300 up to $10,000. Look, you get in where you can fit in. Now, typically, it takes millions, if not billions, to invest in the legal marijuana industry, and it can be pretty risky trying to establish market share. However, Transatlantic Real Estate is taking a different approach. They buy the land that supports marijuana grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. Now, imagine being a landlord to a licensed marijuana farm. With the prospects of further legalization and changing public perceptions about marijuana, some investors could end up making some serious money over the next several years. The best part is they're using crowdfunding so you can get in now before they take the company public. If you want to find out more information, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org to get in now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. In this 2016 story, Tennessee counted 40 credible allegations out of some 4.3 million primary and general election votes cast. In Georgia, 4.1 million ballots were cast. They said they had opened 25 inquiries into suspicious voting or election-related activity. We can go down the line. This notion, what guys like Robert have done is they bit the apple of Trump, who threw out, 3 million legal votes, which happened to be the numbers that he lost to Hillary Clinton in terms of popular vote. They have no evidence. It doesn't exist.
He lost the argument when you began to list the state by state, and in each state, it was the Republican secretaries of state. It was the Republican state committee. You know, one you left out, and I wanted to just shout out, was the admission in Florida when they got rid of souls to the polls, Reverend, on Sunday, which was extremely popular among particularly African-American churches. And you had I think it was the chair of the Republican Party that actually admitted that they hired a consultant to figure out how to suppress the black vote. The other thing he doesn't understand is history. This voter suppression actually started after 2008.
Yes.
When the huge African-American turnout took place. So the only thing I kept thinking for the young man, he's just been in the sun too long in Arizona.
He's strong.
And his brain is baked because he's not dealing in historical fact. You know, Dr. King, and I'll close by saying, he said the two most dangerous things on the planet was sincere ignorance or conscientious stupidity.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, it's bad when they both exist in the same mind.
Well, the thing is, you hit on it right there. The minute that Barack Obama showed up and made history, it scared all these people. They've created these fake facts, fake reality.
Right.
They've created their own fake news. There's a whole lexicon now of conservative media that is just fake because they cannot deal with the reality, which is that the country is in fact changing demographically, which is in fact that the Obama coalition won that election, and that coalition includes Robert, but you know, they want to live in their fantasy world, and their fantasy world is all they've got, and at some point reality is going to catch up with them.
Deborah, this what gets me. The Trump Commission, the Florida Secretary of State said, state law says we can't turn information over. And frankly, we won't turn information over. Texas said, ain't no way in hell we turn information over.
Right.
It's Republican.
Right.
There were New Hampshire, we ain't giving y'all a damn thing.
Right.
Numerous Republican secretaries of state. Right. Now what he did was, California, the Democrats, they won't turn it over. And Republicans. Because even the Republicans knew it was a BS commission.
Look, here's the thing. Whether it's 4 votes, 4,000 votes, 40,000 votes, or 4 million votes, voter fraud is wrong. Okay, can we agree on that?
Agree.
It's wrong. Okay. I got turned off when he says we don't use voter fraud, we use voter integrity. Well, now you lost me. Now you've lost a lot of other conservatives, Republicans, and Democrats. Voter integrity, what is that? Your ballot? Is it the machine? Is it that we don't have enough the media's done these stories on there. A lot of millennials and college-age students who don't do early balloting
Right.
because they don't know what a post office is. They don't know where to get stamps. They don't. That's where we need to focus on things like that. And I can understand why young people who've been away at college and they're used to mommy and daddy handling everything, why they don't know how to go to the grocery store and get a stamp.
They also, this is it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not.
Right.
Exactly.
Stamps is snail mail. And
Matter of fact, look, when I do go to the post office every now and then, they say, you want to buy stamps? I'm like, hell no, what am I going to buy stamps for?
Right. Costco's famous for
I'm
it.
only in here every 3 months. What you
But here's the thing. If we have investigated this, and all these attorneys general have said, no problem, we have nothing to turn over to you, then let's be done with that and move on to what matters. We got all these things we're proposing that our education systems do. These dorms don't say you can come downstairs in the lobby and buy a stamp if you need one. Or, sweetie, let me show you where the website is so you can vote online.
But this is what drives me crazy. I was just at North Carolina A&T on Sunday.
He's not going to have a job much longer, poor thing.
No, he will. He did because they like being clueless. And I'm sure he's tweeting right now saying, oh, he'll give me a chance to talk because you were talking nonsense. I'm at North Carolina A&T on Sunday. This is what the Republicans have done. There's a street on the campus.
That's right.
It's a street.
Right.
If I stand on this side of the street, I'm in one district.
Right.
If I cross the street, I'm in another district.
I'm the same way in D.C., though.
Well, first of all, DC ain't even a state, so I got you. But not only that, beyond that, there are no early voting locations on campuses.
Right.
Not just HBCUs.
None.
And that's HBCUs. What the Republicans have done, I keep saying this, and Robert did not want to have to own up to it. And then I love it. I'm not an expert on North Carolina. Well, hell, I ain't from there either, but I can read.
Right.
The Republicans in North Carolina have turned that state into 21st century Alabama.
Right.
What they have done has been so sick and demented. They literally have emails where they wrote, when are black people voting early?
Right.
And they said the first week of early voting. They went, cool, we're going to get rid of all early voting locations in the whole county except one. Those are the games they're playing, and this brother can't even say, you know what, that's not right.
Well, let me show you the resilience of this hour, and a sterling example that crystallizes both of your points is they shut down the early polling station at Bethune-Cookman. And moved it 1 mile away from the campus. So this weekend, the SGA of Bethune-Cookman took the marching band, the football team, all of the fraternity and sorority, and they did a march.
That's what A&T did.
Yeah.
It was 2 miles. It was 2 miles.
Wow.
Bruh, hold on. Let me tell you. Let me tell you what would happen. I shot the video of them starting. I then drove a mile and waited for them to catch up and shot more video. Then when they all walked past me, I then jumped back in the car and drove to the voting location and waited. It was 2 miles they had to walk to get to the polling place.
And I think this is the synergy the Republicans are not counting on. Because it now is transcending Stacey, it's transcending Gillum, it's transcending Ben, is that there is a movement afoot for black people. This is a graduation election that is beyond a specific personality.
And you know what, Pastor, I really appreciate that because that needs to be said more often than it is, and sometimes too late to take the effect that it does. But where are we and why aren't we... Synergy, I like that word. But why aren't we raising hell long before.
We are raising hell long before.
We are.
Who's raising
I mean,
hell?
are you kidding me? We talk about voting all the time. We
Who's
talk about
raising
voting
hell?
all the time.
Who?
Is it only Republicans in North
No,
Carolina?
no,
Wait a
no,
minute.
no.
We
Is
talk
it
about
only
voting all the
Republicans
time.
in North Carolina that decide where polling
Be
places
careful.
go?
Yes, because what happened is
Only Republicans?
here's why. Yes, because what happened is how bad it is. Because of gerrymandering,
Yeah.
they have a majority. No. Here's the deal. The Republicans in North Carolina don't even talk to Democrats. They don't need them.
Right.
So what happened was in the last election when Cooper won, this is how dastardly Republicans are in North Carolina. The Democrats got a 4-3 majority
Right.
on the state
Supreme
Supreme Court.
Court.
Understood.
The black guy got the most votes.
Right.
The Republicans in North Carolina said, okay, so we're going to strip the state Supreme Court of most of their power, and we're going to give it to the court that's underneath the state Supreme, the appeals
Right.
court, because we have a majority there. Then what they did is, in this election, they said, we're going to require you to run for judicial races this year as parties, but it's not going to apply the next election. You had a Republican who retired right before they passed the law so the governor could appoint a Democrat. They said, no, you can't do that. What they have been doing is their deal is like, and right now in North Carolina, the Republicans got 6 constitutional amendments on the ballot
Right.
to enshrine voter suppression,
Right.
Joe.
And
That's how deep this thing
They
is.
are written in such an abstract
Right.
way that callers to my show are asking, how do we define this? How do we understand this? It is a sneaky way of creating the suppression. But I hesitate. Please don't say people aren't raised in hell. I cannot talk about anything for 4 hours on my show. Folk are calling from coast to coast.
Right.
The fact that lawyers, especially the NAACP attorneys and others who have
Right.
formed coalitions, they're winning case after case after case. These cases aren't decided in a vacuum. And they are out there because people are totally going after it. And I will say one thing about polling: be very careful.
Oh, yeah.
Polls don't vote; people do.
And here's-
and only thing I want to say: you understand, posters are having a problem with this.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
the old way of calling them on landlines don't work.
Who has a landline?
But here's the other thing that trips me out on this whole issue of voter suppression. And this is where John Roberts comes in. So in the Shelby v. Holder decision,
Right.
Yeah.
John Roberts goes,
Right.
oh,
We
look
don't
at
have a problem.
the
Right.
numbers.
Yeah.
Black folks are voting.
Right.
Bruh, we had to overcome poll tax. We had to overcome trying to say how many bubbles in a bar of soap. We had to overcome the whole issue of how many marbles in the jar. Reciting the Constitution. Black folks have always said, all right, y'all put the goal at 10 feet, at 12 feet. Okay, we're going to go practice, and then we're going to work out to learn how to dunk at 12 feet.
But see,
Oh,
that-
y'all done moved the thing to 14 feet. Okay, we're going to go back. We're going to practice and work out. We're going to come back and we're going to shoot at 14 feet. We've always done that. In his mind, because black folks jumped over every hurdle they put in the way,
Right.
his answer was, "Oh, we don't need the voter. We don't need the
Department,
Voting Rights Act."
Right.
The problem is the moment Shelby v. Holder was decided,
They started.
They started,
every
right.
single state
It's like
run by
done.
Republicans,
Right.
literally the next day,
Right.
The next
put
day.
in voter ID laws / early voting. Right now, there are thousands fewer early voting locations in 2018 than there were in 2016 because they said if we shrink the electorate, it's so nasty, Jamal and Lauren. The woman in Wisconsin, the Republican in Wisconsin, Robert, she moved an early voting location from a college campus, you're a mile away, where they had a small parking lot. Because they wanted you to drive up and it's packed and get frustrated and turn back around. Now here you had a venue on a college campus, lots of parking, free. No. She said, quoted, too many young people vote Democrats. And moved it to a far out with a small parking lot. That's happened in all the states I mentioned. Those are the games that they're playing, and Robert is defending that nonsense.
Dodge City, Kansas where mostly, I think it was mostly Hispanic.
Right.
Yeah.
One polling place,
Classic stuff.
and they moved it
Out the city.
out of the city where there was no public transportation close by, so people literally had to drive.
The county in Georgia, the guy who was an
Yes.
advisor
Right.
who gave money to Brian Kemp's campaign
Right.
after the primary said we should shut down 7 out of 9 early voting locations.
See,
See,
what
the
you
problem-
described, and everyone has
This
heard
last
this
point before I go to
before.
my next one.
Anyway, Jim Crow is what you described. Is what our grandparents went through and parents. So
Also,
Jim
it's what
Crow.
the federal court said in North Carolina case.
But what is now happening, ladies and gentlemen, in the 21st century is James Crow Jr. Esquire. It's just a sophisticated version of old Jim Crow.
Yeah.
And that's what they have
But the
implemented.
numbers are going to catch up to them.
Yes.
You realize that. Because if white women do what the polls are indicating
Right.
on the 6th, and you join black voters with white
Yep.
women or any other white number, and of course Hispanic voters, they can't keep up with this. And Alabama partially proved that. But again, we got to see what happens in Georgia and Florida. So they can play these games,
Right.
obviously targeted toward minority groups. But when you have Donald Trump in office and he starts pissing off the other demographic groups in the United
Right.
States,
Right.
you lose.
Which is why I specifically said to Sherilyn Ifill, to Vanita Gupta, the Secretary of State of California, and a panel at CBC. Y'all keep talking about voter suppression for black folks and Latinos.
Right.
But voter suppression
Right.
is also targeting
Exactly.
young whites. It's targeting the elderly as well. Because in Wisconsin, 250,000 people, largely elderly, they said, did not vote because of voter ID. And the federal judge called Governor Scott Walker and said, now, the Obama administration said y'all can go ahead and do the voter IDs.
Right.
So why are you taking so long even issuing them? They were dragging their feet even on issuing them. So that's sort of the drama that we have.